G'day guys, today I'm going to go through my top 15 prospects for the mid-season draft. And one thing you'll notice is there's three players here that I haven't put a number next to simply because they didn't nominate. But had they nominated, this reflects where I would rate them and in what order. So just for your knowledge at home. So to go through the list, so Jai Cully. So if he was in the national draft pool and there was no mid-season draft, I would rate Jai Cully inside my top 10 based on what I've seen to date. So if the draft is held tomorrow, he would be inside my top 10 power rankings. So certainly for any clubs with early picks, I would say to West Coast, hey, this is the guy you should be drafting. And I'm more than happy to go on record saying that. So just the sheer rate of improvement. He's someone who really works hard in his game, but he comes in at 193 centimeters and he's that high impact per possession type who racks it up and has the versatility to impact in a wide variety of positions. So you can put him forward. He's a contested marking force. You can use him up the field, and my gosh, can this guy kick. Not only does he have the skills, the vision, the penetration on his kick, he's got all those components. Very strong, has a good deal of speed as well. So for me, absolute no-brainer. If you want the best young prospect in this draft, it's Jai Cully. For those that want that, I guess, immediate punch, well, Casey Voss is the guy. And if I was to put together my top 20 power rankings for the national draft today, Casey Voss would be inside that top 20. So basically he was one where he was eligible last year for the draft, and he's just gone from strength to strength this year. So in the Sandful v Waffle game, well, he was best on ground, comfortably the best there. Just absolute intercept marking force, great ball user, racks it up, but then he's also got those defensive components as well. So not necessarily the most athletic, but a very smart footballer who he's a plug and play. So if your defense needs a single piece, Casey Voss is the guy to bring in as that absolute priority, I would be saying. We've got Wade Derksen, so as a key forward. So he's the best key forward in this draft, and the impressive thing with him is in the past 2 years he's grown 12 centimeters, so he's that absolute late bloomer, and he's crossed from the VFL, really couldn't get a game, played a couple of games there last year, but moving across to the Waffle this year, he's been a really good key forward. So having that upward trajectory, that's what's really impressive and appealing with a Derksen. So he's certainly got a potential future there. So very exciting, and strong mark as well, good athletic profile, very appealing prospect on the field as well as on paper. Josh Carmichael, look, it could be whether you want to call it a 3A, 3B, I could order these guys in any order. But look at Carmichael, he's been a really impressive midfielder in the Sandful this year. Just really walked into the league this year, and he's racking it up, winning his own footy to a high level, that strong, big-bodied midfielder. He's got that power, breaks tackles. Another case of a really good kick in this draft. Has the penetration as well. So, he can roost it for 60, 65 if he wants. But he can go forward, strong contested mark, hits the scoreboard. So, there's a lot of components there that are really exciting. So, potentially he could be the Jai Newcomb equivalent in this draft, you could say. So, very exciting, and I think he's got a good chance of making the grade. So, certainly a very exciting prospect. Bailey Rogers, for me, at the end of last year, I was saying then is the best mature ager available. Look, there's a few others that have moved past him in terms of appeal, but as that mid-forward, really for me, he's an any team best 22 player where you can just fit him into that rotation. So if you've got a stacked midfield, great, put him forward and just put him in the midfield for a smaller portion of the game. If you've got a stacked forward line, fine, put him in the midfield and he'll be really good through there, but then you can also sort of rest him forward and he'll have an impact. So, he's certainly someone that I still remain big on, even though he's not quite playing up to that same standard, but it's also sort of, I guess, better known that he's a really good player now. So, he's someone I'd still be comfortable taking, certainly. The next two, they didn't nominate, of course. So we've got Blake Slenslog. So, no games yet this year due to injury. But, what he did first half of last year, I'm not forgetting. just as a key defender, the way he reads the ball behind the ball, like he just reads it off the opponent's boot, where he can just track their eyes, knows where they're going to kick it, and he just gets to that spot. So he's got the height, he's got the skills, he's got the strength. So yeah, look, he's someone I really like as a key defender. If it's as a key forward or ruck, I'm not particularly interested. But behind the ball, I think he's AFL standard and better than a lot of AFL key defenders, I'd even say, that are sort of among those depth stocks. I think he's really got that best 22 potential. So I remain a fan, it's fair to say. Angus Baker, another case of I remain a fan. Even back to his NEAFL days, back when the NEAFL was a competition. Well, this guy was just absolutely racking it up, going for his 30 disposals, 10 marks a game, that sort of thing. He crossed to the VFL last year, of course, and was playing really good footy there. So, yeah, he's just... And look, he's not playing in the VFL this year, which is a shame. But, yeah, look, he's someone where I would more than happily plug and play, just put him in a defence, and he just really fits in. So, another case of... I'd be saying a bit like a Casey Voss. Really just like an any team best 22. If you need a decent general defender, put him in. So if I was, say, a North Melbourne and I had the 2 picks to burn and I really wanted to improve that defence, well, it would be very easy to go for a Casey Voss, Angus Baker, and you've got a pretty solid defence there. So you've really sort of bulked that sort of group up and you're looking a bit more solid. So you give that group time to gel, of course, but I think they're 2 key pieces you could really go forward with for a long time. We've got Jake Florinca. Yeah, look, what he did on debut for West Coast as, I guess, that COVID call-up, if you want to call him that, well, yeah, absolutely terrific. So, yeah, he led West Coast, of course, for contested possessions and I think was equal high in tackles. So, doing that on short notice on a team you don't even know, well, that's absolutely terrific. So, and look, he can be someone I'd say I'd probably have higher if he wasn't someone who I guess is hot and cold for, I guess, a month here, a month there. But certainly in the last month and a bit, he's been playing really exceptional footy. So playing to an AFL standard, of course, outplaying West Coast's midfielders. So fair to say his AFL quality, even though a bit like, say, a Bailey Rogers, he is that bit older, but doesn't matter. His AFL standard. So I'd be more than happy to draft him. So let's say you've got West Coast, it's their second pick. At a Jake Florinca, you're really doing very well. You've got a piece who's actually capable of stepping up and performing to a good standard. Hugo Hall-Kahan, he's someone who's really got weapons. So exceptional athlete. He's been going really well as a forward. And I find that he influences games every week, which is what I really like about him. But good athlete, vertical athlete, strong mark, really good skills as well. But what I really like is the way he takes on the game. So he's got that acceleration, he's got the agility, he's just got that run and dare. So I'd actually probably like him more across halfback than I would even as a forward. As a forward, look, does he have, I guess, the ability to find enough of the footy and impact that way? Not sure for AFL purposes, but I really like him behind the ball and think there's great scope there. Massimo D'Ambrosio, look, I could go these guys in either order. D'Ambrosio, look, across halfback is sensational, where he's got the skills, absolutely terrific skills, racks it up. He's capable one-on-one. He plays taller than his height, even though he's that 178. He's that sort of vertical athlete, can intercept really well. So he's a really complete player, having sort of all those dimensions that you want. So if you're looking for that drive across halfback, I think is a pretty solid get there. With a Hall-Kahan, look, you've got a few more weapons, perhaps in other positions, whereas a D'Ambrosio, look, you're probably a bit more solid in saying, look, he's going to be that really good sort of, I guess, component in defence. So a Jacob Bauer, he's another one a bit like a Hall-Kahan, where I'd say I think he'd actually be even better in defence. So big-time improver, a GWS Academy prospect of the past, but he's really broken out this year and been sensational in the SANFL. With, in particular, over the first couple of weeks, just some huge games in terms of that scoreboard impact. So, yeah, fair to say I like him a lot, particularly with what he does aerially. But as that, I guess, sensational aerial athlete who doesn't necessarily find a lot of it, which is the one reservation for me with him as a forward, I'd really like to see him pushed behind the ball and really used as that sort of, I guess, intercept marking force. I think that would be a way where he'd be a capable and pretty solid role player for AFL purposes, and that would allow him to, I guess, maximise his impact on a weekly basis. Whereas as a forward, if you're not finding a heap of it, you're not really going to have that impact every week. So that's sort of the appeal there for me with a Bauer. Jai Menzie came out of the blocks like anything in the first couple of rounds, and in the last sort of month or so as well, he's been playing really good footy as well. So really good forward. And for me, actually, last year I thought he was Tasmania's best prospect. Of course, you had Sam Banks, who was picked in the 20s by Richmond, but I thought Menzies was actually the better footballer from Tasmania. So that's something to watch. Maybe we can create a bit of a rivalry there, but I'm a Menzie fan, and look, he was one where I considered him for my power rankings last year, and yeah, basically I rate him, and I think he should be joining an AFL list. For any club looking for that really talented, high scoreboard impact forward, he brings the pressure as well, good skills, hits the targets inside 50, so you've got a fair few weapons there to sort of help you out. Mitch O'Neill, recycled player, formerly with West Coast, of course, but he's gone back to the sandful and developed his game, which is, of course, what you want. So he's always sort of had the skills, has the quickness, but what's impressive now is that he's got the contested side to his game as well. And he's also really, in more recent weeks, I'd say, even sort of developed that defensive side, the tackling. He's a really sort of complete player who, if you're looking for that outside mid who can also go inside as well, look at Mitch O'Neill, you're going to do pretty well with him as that sort of immediate mid who can help you out. If you want to project ruck, I really like Max Ramsden. He's the absolute standout, and I think he'll be one of the very early picks in this draft. But yeah, certainly he gets around the ground, finds a heap of it, quite athletic. Probably not the best tap ruckman necessarily, and can lose the hit-out counts, but what he does around the ground is that sort of, I'm not going to say Tim English, but that sort of style of player in terms of how he impacts the games, that's sort of more what you're looking for, is that sort of, I guess, development sort of pathway and what you want him to track towards. So that's sort of how I'd be looking at his, I guess, hope to develop, really. So certainly very promising. And he was playing private school footy in years past, so he hasn't really necessarily had that development through the NAB League and those sorts of systems. But of course, in the private schools, they really develop the kids and do a great job there. And the last name, and look, another one, unfortunately, that didn't nominate, but Tyrone Thorne. I'm a big fan of him, whether it's as a forward, as a mid, just even though he's tiny, so we're talking sub 170 here, but and absolute lightweight as well. But look, he's someone where he racks it up, wins a heap of the footy, but importantly, he's got incredible skills, one of the most skilled players outside the AFL, and in terms of that speed, agility, he has the endurance as well. So he does all that, finds a heap of it, but it's just basically he's one of those where he gets discriminated against, really, just because he's really in the minds of too many as being sort of too small. So if you're looking for that crumbing forward, I think he'd be terrific, and look, he again pushes up through the midfield. So in the waffle, he plays predominantly as a midfielder, but to me, you can play him in either position and he can be a piece. So that's my top 15. And for those of you who have been wondering what I've been doing over recent weeks, well, on ESPN, you've got my mid-season draft power rankings. So that was the top 10. And I go through sort of full descriptions, of course, on those players. I've got this was posted this morning, but a what every club needs piece. So basically going through the club's list needs. And look, I haven't been as strict, I guess, on what every club needs as much as, well, in terms of practicalities, let's say a Fremantle would want a key forward more than anything. Well, I think it's unlikely that the best key forward in this draft is available. And given that would be the case, well, there wouldn't necessarily be another key forward that I'd be suggesting for their pick. So I've sort of, I guess, used that element of discretion in my decision making. Before coming on and producing this video, I've contributed to the ESPN weekly podcast, so that should be going up sometime tomorrow, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. I'll promote it on social, so on my Twitter, if you follow me on there at AFL Draft Expert, you'll see that as well as the other pieces I've mentioned. Immediately after the mid-season draft, I'll be producing my review piece, so that'll be up the next day on ESPN. So the mid-season draft, of course, being Wednesday. You'll see that hopefully Thursday morning on espn.com.au/AFL. And then next week, I've got my June AFL draft power rankings. So I'll be expanding that order out to a top 20. So it'll be interesting to see who I have in there. And hopefully those guys in the likes of a Jai Cully and a Casey Voss, hopefully they get picked. So you guys get some names that maybe I haven't mentioned perhaps so far this season. So, but anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future updates, and I'll see you in the next video.